So my name is Amanda Mills. I am the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Stony Brook University. We have a very special topic to go over today and special guests, Adam, Akshay, and Sophia, who will be bringing you on the sustainability studies journey. And so we'll jump right in. Adam, do you want to get started and say hello?
Sure. Thanks for the introductions, Amanda. Hi, everybody. And again, welcome to our Sustainability Studies virtual introduction and recruiting event. And of course, along with me to my box, to my right, I've got Akshay, Ella Parambil, and Sophia Demont, who are two Sustainability Studies students who are just excelling and thriving and doing all kinds of interesting and cool things that they will talk to you about. But before then, I just want to kind of go over the program, kind of provide a broad, kind of high level overview. So again, we're the Sustainability Studies program, and we are part of the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences. We're one of three divisions. You have the Atmospheric Sciences Division, the Marine Sciences Division, and Sustainability Studies. And I put that quote, and it's a good quote because it really represents, I think, what we are interested in. That is being the antidote to doom, that is doing, action oriented, and working again on solutions to some of our most pressing problems, including, again, climate change, environmental degradation, and again, societal inequities. So, again, what is sustainability studies? I'm part of a sustainability faculty fellowship across the SUNY system, and we've been debating this for quite some time. And it has many potential definitions, but really it's an interdisciplinary field. And it was developed in a response to the growing need for environmental literacy, awareness as a solution to unsustainable human behavior and environmental degradation. So at its base, it means trying to work to establish long-lasting health, integrity, diversity, vitality for all living systems, including individual, community, ecosystem, biome. So really, at the core of it, it's about systems thinking and how we can holistically work through our diverse disciplinary lenses and unique skill sets and interests to approach what are important problems and work to solve them. So within our division, we offer three majors, and they are coastal environmental studies, which leads to a bachelor's of science, environmental design, policy, and planning, which leads to a bachelor of arts, and sustainability studies, which leads to a bachelor of arts. And we also have six minors, and those minors are a minor in environment ecologies and human impact, environmental humanities, sustainability studies, coastal environmental studies, climate solutions, and GIS, so geospatial systems. And as you can see there, those are the directors of the various majors. The overall director of the program is Dr. David Taylor. Catherine Albrecht is the director of coastal environmental studies. Donovan Finn, EDP, is environmental design policy planning, and me, sustainability. And I just put this slide here because, again, it represents some of the problems and challenges we're facing. Again, we are seeing global temperature changes, particularly when you look at it relative to 100, 150 years ago. And again, not only that, but because of unsustainable practices over a long haul, we have a lot of environmental degradation, which includes biodiversity loss, fresh water and ocean acidification, and again, a lot of land use patterns which are antithetical to longevity. So, in all of that, again, some of this is for some terrifying or potentially produce what's often called climate anxiety. And again, the worst thing we can submit to is some sense of doom, because really it's a really good time to be part of a sustainability studies program. It's a really good time to be gearing yourself with the skill sets to be solutions oriented and to, again, being that anecdote to doom that is doing, being action oriented, working to make better, more resilient communities in all their aspects, both human and non-human. So right there, I'm not going to read through all that. But again, we have at the New York state level legislation which has legislated certain mandates that we begin to meet. And again, these targets are um, are working towards reducing GHG emissions, getting towards renewable clean energy, and of course, getting us so we can get in line with sustainable development goals and again, creating greater uh, possibilities for resiliency. There are also, again, at the governor's level, executive orders, which are mandating that state agencies begin to adopt sustainability and decarbonization plans. And when you think about it, the SUNY system at the State University of New York, at the higher education level, accounts for 40% of all state-owned buildings. That's an incredible, enormous contributor. And again, what SUNY and what we want at Stony Brook is to be that kind of public interface of the change. We want to be in the leadership. We want to be directing it. We have our students working not just externally on these kinds of meaningful changes, but internally working with our Office of Sustainability, working with our facilities, working to curb emissions. And to even curb them, you have to inventory them, catalog them, know that they exist, know where the changes need to be made. And they've been doing it from emissions audits to weigh the waste and trying to develop kind of grassroots levels campaigns for composting. And we have a SUNY Climate and Sustainability Action Plan, which has just been implemented. And it really is pressing to make sustainability, right? And those same mandates that are legislated by law by the CLCPA, that Climate Leadership Act, get us as institutions at the forefront, get people like Akshay, Sophia, and many of you out there at the forefront, learning and creating and just thriving in it. So it's an exciting time. So the challenges offer many possibilities. And sustainability studies is unique because really we are the bridgers between science and people, science and society. So while we can have all the environmental science and all of the kind of technological capacities to make those changes, we will not get anywhere if we can't communicate those with the public, if we can't build trust, if we can't, again, understand the various perspectives of a wide and diverse set of stakeholders. So in sustainability, we're really about bridging the science and the people to create policies, planning, and designs that begin to lay the infrastructure and needed cultural changes to make a better world. And that's super exciting. That's a light way to put it. You can move it along. This just gives you some sense of, again, that kind of at the core of us is systems thinking. You can't really have systems thinking without a great diversity of lenses. So we're highly, highly interdisciplinary. And I truly, put my stamp on it that I don't believe that there's a unit in the entire university that at its core is meant more interdisciplinary systems thinking oriented than the sustainability studies program. If we were to sit around a conference table, what you would find is people involved in urban and regional planning, people involved in disaster mitigation and resilience, people involved in environmental humanities and poetry, nature photography, people that are highly skilled in anthropology, from primates to, again, people that are steeped in economics and business, ecotoxicology. And we have a worm lab where we're constantly, again, doing scientific studies on different kinds of processes that are creating, again, soil toxicology. We have a chemist who is the leader of the coastal environmental studies. He's not just a green chemist in terms of polymers and so forth, but very invested in chemistry education, meeting people wherever they are to build them up. Geospatial science, which is a growing and growing field and highly demanded. History by training, I'm an urban and environmental historian. And we all really thrive in this interdisciplinary setting. Just for myself, from my own background and more qualitative kind of methodologies, I was asked to go outside of my wheelhouse and start to increasingly move toward and use and employ and teach quantitative methodologies. Growth mindset. So we are not stagnant. And growth mindset is really where it's at. Because at the end of the day, this set of majors is really about trying to get you toward meaningful careers where your own interest and creativity is called upon. Where again, there's maybe a great demand in that you have to use that, you have to think, but there is nothing in this world that personalizes your interests and helps you part in the world than those kinds of careers. So our classes, breadth kind of repertoire of different kinds of things that people in these different majors are, finding themselves enrolled in. And it's a really cool set of majors and a really cool set of courses and people. So the first major is coastal environmental studies. This is our most science, if you will, sciencey major. And again, it's led by Catherine Albert, who's a chemist by training. And this gives you some idea of the kind of foundational core upper division electives. And again, in this particular major, you will spend more time in the physical sciences and in mathematics. So this is leading to a bachelor's of science. You're really working with a lot of uh, different kind of courses that are teaching you how to understand and mitigate the impact of sea level rise on water and land use resources and environmental design policy and planning. And I believe this is the major that has the most students at this point. But the ETP major, again, it leads to a Bachelor of Arts, and it really trains people for thinking of how to design um, and plan for both at a local and more regional scale, better, more resilient communities that again strive to meet the three E's. If this looks like a my best attempt at making a triangle, the kind of three E's of planners, and that is how in the world do you align environmental health, economic growth, and equity and fairness when those three things are often in conflict with one another. So planners, and in this program, future planners and people involved in these kinds of fields are really thinking about how can we create policies and plans that really engage stakeholders and really work in such a way that you have procedural recognition and distributive justice, where those three E's of economic growth, environmental health, and equity align. Um, and that's a really cool thing when you can do that. And it is no easy chore. Sustainability itself is a problem. And of course, you have sustainability studies that leads to a Bachelor of Arts with both Akshay and Sophia are rising superstars in. And again, there are three tracks that one will choose, usually within their first year of sustainability studies, where again, they have a concentration. The three concentrations are ecology and human impact with Dr. Sharon Cochran, environmental humanities with Dr. David Taylor, and society's economics and governance with me. And that's us at our second annual Rake and Bake, where we went out in the Ashley Shift Preserve. We raked all day. Then we ate a bunch of baked treats that we brought. So ecosystems and human impact. Within the Bachelor of Arts in Sustainability Studies, this track is our most sciencey, I guess you would say, because it's really a bridging of biology and human impact. So what you won't get in, let's say, maybe as strongly in just a strictly kind of biology curriculum, maybe even a strictly um, ecology and evolutionary curriculum, what you won't find as much is that human impact side of it. This really is a program that incorporates a lot of labs as cures, which are called, which is an acronym for course-based undergraduate research experiences. Dr. Sharon Cochran runs the Worm Lab. Everybody loves the Worm Lab. It does such cool and amazing things, and they always have wild, cool experiments that we have in Eureka, which is undergraduate research and creative activities, which is the annual symposium. And nobody usually has more than Dr. Cochran. Last year I had five, and I thought I did really good, and I did do really good. And then she had about 13. But again, it's more lab based, and you do a lot of work with ecotoxicology, basically how are humans negatively impacting our environments, and how by understanding that we can learn to mitigate that. And then we have the environmental humanities track, which is super cool, led by the super cool David Taylor, who is a historian, a poet, a photographer, a better speaker than myself, and just a really inspiring individual. And the Forever Wild, he actually, worked with students to create this book, which those students whose names you kind of see at the bottom edited this volume. And it's an edited volume where other students wrote about their experiences with nature on campus, and in particular, the Ashley Schiff Preserve, which we're still working with friends of the Ashley Schiff Preserve to make forever wild. On this degree, you're really exploring the environmental humanities and that really deep rooted kind of cultural aspect of our connections with nature, from food to art, all of its varieties, to just again kind of uh, understanding in a very philosophical way where we sit within this broader world and why we perceive it the way. And then there's the society's economics and governance track, and this is that part of sustainability studies that is more related to again economics and business and sustainability management, and working to and within different kinds of organizations to create the infrastructure for that sustainability and changes that are needed. Be it again, various. So there, I mean, it's very wide, but some of it could be again understanding how to in an organization inventory various kind of audits, be it waste of energy, or be it waste in terms of or food flows. It's also very geared towards working to create a more just form of sustainability that is more environmentally just. So again, we spend a lot of time looking as a historian at a kind of longer historical lens of what are those societal policies, customs, and cultures that have worked to create these gross uneven developments, and how people experience themselves in relation to others in their built natural environment. What are the consequences of those uneven developments, and how can we work again through policy planning and business and economies to create the proper infrastructure to mend all of these wounds that again divide us and make it hard for us to move forward in some kind of collective effort toward our collective betterment. So we've got lots of experiential opportunities. I mean, Akshay and Sophia can tell you more about that just because they live it like every day on that side of the proverbial. We've got lots of student clubs. These are just based in SOMAS: Marine Science Club, Environmental Club, Meteorological Club, Sunrise Climate Justice Club, Swim Society for Women in Marine Science, Architecture and Urban Design Club. And just this morning, I got an email from Student Affairs where the Structural Drafting Club is going to get going, and I'm the faculty advisor for that budging or emerging club. That's really cool, and again related to urban design in many ways. Research, my God, there's so many research opportunities, and these are just some folks in action. But just to give you a little taste of what I've been up to with some students, Akshay is involved with me and another student, and we are working with the New York Climate Exchange, partnering with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, And that European Bank for Reconstruction and Development has lots and lots of capital and lots of technical know-how, but they have problems with stakeholder relations when they're trying to, again, advance climate solutions in major cities across the globe. So we are one group among many that are studying a particular city and how they went about making, again, needed infrastructural and cultural improvements and why they're able to succeed in some areas and not succeed in other areas. And we're basically creating a playbook of best practices when it comes to stakeholder engagement, of relating to all of these different levels and breadth of people and building those bonds of trust. And again, really a sense of uh, procedural and distributive justice in the design and implementation. I've also been working with people in Upper Port Jefferson and what is this spate of redevelopments that is occurring that again is under the banner of sustainability through transit-oriented development, but not unlike other LIRR hubs, it portends the potential displacement of lower income and often communities of color. So we're interested in a more holistic uh, um, form of justice sustainability. And I've had projects for people working in actually Shift Park, and it's just so many research opportunities from actual course-based research to what are independent research opportunities to work with your professors or on your own and go about and really employ your creativity and your interest out there in the world and study abroad. We implore you all to go study abroad if you're able. It can be a life-changing experience, and there are many, many opportunities. Here are a few. And Amanda, if you move forward. And there are many course-based project courses. So these are some of our capstones, and they do all kinds of cool stuff. 401 in the past couple of years has worked with me in the Upper Port Revitalization Zone to try to, again, better inform residents and stakeholders of the different things going on. We've had other groups work with the Peconic Estuary Partnership in trying to create better streamlined processes for people that are trying to build and incorporate living seashores and remove from some of that harder infrastructure. And even more recently, around Roth Pond in Stony Brook, they built different kinds of kind of flood mitigation to try to reduce the nitrogen loads that are moving into that pond and making it increasingly whole bloom all the and then the toxicology lab and so forth. These, in terms of internships, we have almost, I mean, this is a small fraction of our internships. Sophia and Akshay have both had them. We really encourage you to get them. They are, again, life-changing. Learn things in an environment that is, real world and all, the realities that come with that. Again, learning real processes and the challenges, trying to overcome, what are some problems. And I think about 20% of our graduates go on to graduate school immediately after their education here. And this just gives you, again, a brief, small kind of sample. And again, in terms of our employment, and if you go to the next slide, again, this is just a small fraction of those that, again, that help us sometimes to fill out those exit polls about where they're going. But it's a wide range of opportunities, and as I noted at the beginning of this, these opportunities are only growing because here at New York State, and we've noted that about 80% of New Yorkers that are graduating from SUNY tend to stay in New York State and work. New York State is under that Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act is pushing increasingly through policy and the funding of those policies new opportunities, and they're growing. So I'm just going to let Akshay and Sophia maybe very quickly introduce themselves.
So, hey, I'm Akshay. I'm a senior majoring in sustainability studies on Dr. Charbonneau's Societies, Economics, and Governance track. I've I changed majors to sustainability studies about 2 years ago now, and I haven't had any regrets since then. I love how the classes are small and the professors take the time and care to cater the course material to what the students are most interested in. That was most relevant last semester when I was taking environmental justice and philosophy of the environment. Dr. Collins and Dr. Taylor were amazing professors. Well, they still are. Right now, I'm 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 most occupied with my work for the Empire State Service Corps. So that's this state program. They funded, or New York State funds positions within SUNY that do some sort of community outreach or service-based work. So for that, I'm working for our Office of Sustainability, looking to implement that New York State Climate and Sustainability Action Plan that Dr. Charbonneau mentioned earlier. Um, Other than that, I interned at Renewable Energy Long Island last summer. The 2 summers before that, I was at Cold Spring Harbor Lab. So I've had plenty of great opportunities over my time here.
Hey everybody, my name is Sophia. I'm also majored in sustainabilities and I'm concentrated in societies, economics, and governance. Being a part of sustainability has really been such a formative experience. Back in high school, I was very interested in environmental conservation and getting involved with those kinds of protective measures for our planet. And when I was looking at colleges and where I would possibly want to go and what would be best for my major, the most unique one that I found was sustainability studies because it was able to marry the science that I really enjoyed with the more, complicated social issues that come along with an environmental transition or a green transition for that matter. So it's really been wonderful. I've had probably 3 or 4 classes with Dr. Charbonneau at this point, and each one of them I've genuinely learned so much. And then, outside of the classroom, I am pretty involved on campus. Some people would probably say too much. So I'm a senator on the undergraduate student government here. So I represent the student body when we make decisions about events and legislation and how we should push the university to do certain things. So right now, in partnership with Akshay and his programs on campus that he's been running, I've been pushing for composting. So talking with people from administration and showing them that SUNY should, live up to the standards that it's setting. And then I also work with Students for Climate Action as a program coordinator. And I basically help high school students who are just starting to get involved with climate action and guiding them through lobbying and campaigning and, speaking at public hearings, things like that. So that's been really great too. And if you guys have any questions about getting involved, I'd be happy to answer.
And if I can just add one thing, again, to tip my hat to Akshay and Sophia. One, just a couple weeks ago, they were both celebrated and awarded the Liblet Scholarship. So they're both Liblet Scholars for all their good work and sustainability. And again, even within that waste reduction, their work for pushing away the waste and composting and elevating that and scaling it up through the infrastructures of the university. And just in the past couple of years, we've had the Chancellor's Award was won by one of our students. So I mean, we got a bunch of rock stars. We're looking for more.
Excellent. We do have some questions for you. The first one, and I don't know if I think you talked a little bit about minors, but if I were another major and I wanted to minor in sustainability studies, or I wasn't sure if I maybe wanted to double major, is that something I could do? And what would a minor in sustainability studies look like if we have one?
Sure. So in terms of double majoring, it's quite possible, and it's done with some frequency. What you can't have is a certain amount of courses in those two majors that overlap. And it works as well with the sustainability minor and all of our minors in the sustainability studies program. So to get a sustainability studies minor, you need 18 credits of sustainability studies coursework. And some of them are core, some of them are elective, and you cannot have more than 6 credits that overlap with your major. So again, the emphasis is on breadth of learning. We don't want too much doubling over, but uh, certainly people with even greater frequency, they will major in one, and then they will minor in another. And it's all the cooler kind of when people pair them in unique ways. So just give me an example. We had a student that was in global studies, um, global and international studies, and they also wanted to become a double major in sustainability studies. And they talked with me as the faculty director of the sustainability studies major, and they were thinking about society's economics and governance track. And I thought, well, sure, that's great. It fits so well with, again, global and international studies. Um, and you can get even more minute with what you do at a, let's say, broader scale. But then I encouraged that student, because of us talking together, to take the minor or to take the concentration track in environmental humanities. Because I was thinking, if you've got all this breadth in terms of global, kind of structures and economics and international policy, imagine if you had that kind of environmental humanities route where that deep cultural level you could connect people about these other kinds of kind of disciplinary lenses. How cool would that be? And now that student is doing it well. To accidentally quote, I think, LL Cool J.
And another question, which I guess could be answered by anyone because you've all done internships, but how are students supported in gaining access to internships or, just work experience, research experience, field work experience in SOMAS?
I could speak on that. Yeah, so getting an internship or at least having access to the knowledge of which ones you might be able to have. Stony Brook and all of its classes operate on something called Brightspace, which is essentially a more complicated Google Classroom. But for SOMAS, which is the entire School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences, we have a Brightspace where they actually post internship opportunities. So the job I have now at Students for Climate Action, besides a recommendation by Dr. Charbonneau, was also posted onto that Brightspace. And then even last year too, I had a previous internship with an environmental construction management company, and so I also heard about that through that Brightspace. And then in my experience at least, there if you have a good relationship with a professor, they will happily write a recommendation for you, support you through the application process. And there's also a class here called Technical Writing and Communications, which teaches you how to update your application materials, make your resume and your cover letter as beautiful as possible so nobody could say no to your application materials. I hope.
Right. If I could just add to Sophia as well again, what you get in sustainability studies is a program is again that kind of smaller fill at a big large research university. Or again, Sophia and Akshay, I work with them both in and outside the classroom. We're always working on projects. So when I see something like Students for Climate Action, about a handful of days before it went live on Brightspace, I steered Sophia toward it if she was interested, because again, you develop those kinds of relationships with faculty and staff, and they know kind of what really gets your creativity and your interest going, and if they can make those connections, all the easier for you. That's part of our charge, and not even need to be a charge. We're just all working together.
That's great. So speaking of, we had a pre-submitted question, which I didn't want to forget because I thought it was really good. speaking of sustainability in terms of the division, um, and you talked about the size of the major, but their question really is more about like what a typical day is like. Because you're talking about potentially, joining clubs and organizations and having an internship and doing all these research projects and then all your classes. What is your typical day like for Akshay and Sophia?
Well, right now, what I've found is that because of all the flexibility within the sustainability major, I like dedicated like each semester to like different parts of my requirements so that and in such a way that like I'm really flexible my senior year. So right now I only have like two normal in-person classes with the rest being like online or as like weekly lectures. So as a senior, most of my time is actually dedicated to my extracurriculars. So I'm the vice president of our chapter of the Sunrise Movement. We're an environmental justice organization. And I've spent most of my time this semester really organizing for that club and pushing for sustainable policy changes within Stony Brook's administration. And there, I feel I've learned honestly so much more than I have at like any point inside the classroom. And that's not to say and that's not to like, speak lowly of the sustainability courses that I've taken, but it comes from a place that I've learned so much and I'm ready and I feel ready to apply what I've or everything that I've taken away from the classroom.
If I could just add on that I see Akshay and Sophia like busy bees doing all kinds of things and usually very much related to sustainability. And they actually, no matter how tired they may actually be, they look happy because I can tell they're doing things that they enjoy. And again, when you're doing things that you're really passionate about, though it might be work, it is a different kind of feeling than you're just doing things because you're being told.
Well, there's a place to reward yourself too. I mean, just this past weekend, for my position with Stony Brook's Office of Sustainability, we had or we were all sent to a conference in Albany celebrating all of the students across the SUNY system that are doing similar kinds of service work. So my service work, obviously, for the Office of Sustainability, but there are different service corps. So there's one advocating for like SNAP or policy or communicating how to get access to SNAP benefits. There's one to help high school students fill out their FAFSA applications. There's a lot of great work happening on the back end here, and it's been so fulfilling to apply what I've learned in such a way. I mean, at that conference, I was so lucky to get to meet the SUNY system-wide sustainability coordinator, Juliana Smith, and as well as the DEC commissioner, Amanda Lefton.
Sophia, what's your typical day or week like as a sustainability studies major?
Sure. My days are usually pretty busy, but I like it that way. What I will say about the sustainability major that's pretty similar to what Akshay said is that there's a lot of flexibility. Um, my typical days right now, I'll only have classes maybe like 3 times a week. I kind of set it up that way on purpose. Like a lot of the classes will be on the same days. So, for example, next semester, I'm going to have very busy like Tuesdays and Thursdays. But then my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, it's only like 1 or 2 classes, and I can spend time doing other things that I enjoy. So I'll wake up in the morning, go to the dining hall, maybe go to my first class. Then generally I like to schedule my meetings during my lunch break, or I'll just sit outside and try to touch some grass before the rest of the day begins. Um, Other classes, I'm also on as I mentioned before, the student government. So we have our meetings sometimes during the day. And then in the evenings, which is my favorite part of the day, is when I get to spend time with my clubs. So I'm on the Stony Brook sailing team here. It's just a club team, but we all shuttle over to Port Jefferson and just go out and sail some boats. and the sunset is magical and you meet so many great people, and it's just usually the highlight of my day, even when I fall in the water. I'm also um, I'm also one of the e-board members or executive board members on the Stony Brook Model United Nations team. I'm just a part of it because my friends are, but we get to go debate and travel to other schools and stuff like that. So I'll help run meetings there. There is a lot of downtime, and um, I just think there's so many ways to get involved. And yeah, my normal day is pretty enjoyable.
That's great. That kind of leads into the next question we have from a guest joining us today. So we've talked about small community within sustainability studies and even within the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences compared to some of the other colleges and schools at the university. But their question is, given the small community, what is the student life like, especially because Stony Brook in its entirety is known to be a bigger institution? And you've kind of touched on that.
I'd say student life on campus is definitely what you make of it. There are like 500 clubs and organizations on campus that you can get involved with. So there's always going to be something for you, whether that's environmental or something different. And then if you don't like joining a smaller club and you just want to be one in the crowd, we have a lot of great student life events. So we have a yearly annual carnival called Wolfie Land. In the spring, we have something called Brookfest, where we get some pretty famous people, honestly, to come and perform at our campus. And it's only a $30 ticket. We have like a comedy show. So I'd say you would definitely not be wanting more with what we have, even though it's a pretty large community and can be a little.
Excellent. So we had another pre-submitted question about changing your major, but also what if you just have no idea? You have an interest in climate, the environment, sustainability, but you're not sure what direction you want to go in yet. Do you recommend choosing one and then exploring taking a variety of classes, or coming in undecided? I know from admissions perspective, we always say start with where you think you want to end up, and you can always change later. But I want to know what you all think.
Well, like Sophia mentioned in the chat, Stony Brook makes it really easy to change your major if you need to. It's really just a Google form, and then past that, you can make appointments with any of the major advisors that each department has. So ours for the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences, we have Nancy Black, and she has been incredibly helpful since I changed majors. That's also a benefit of having a smaller major. You get more catered attention, and that's especially true with Nancy, who she's incredibly knowledgeable of the systems and has helped me on short notice many times. I know I would be flailing trying to figure out graduation next semester without her help. There's um, also with being a small major, there's flexibility with how you get to your or with how you get all of your course requirements done. So the this semester I'm part of two research courses within sustainability, and that wound up that wound up like a bit of a registration irregularity with Nancy, who wound up fixing it by making me the first student within sustainability studies to be enrolled in like two research classes at once. But that catered attention has proven really useful.
I would also just say that your freshman year is pretty flexible, even though, for example, if you were to take studies as your first major that you walk in with, they're pretty introductory courses. So you'd be taking physical geography, learning about, rock formations, things like that. If that's not your speed and you can already see walking into the major, that's not really my taste, you can change your major pretty quickly and still have time to graduate on time. And then Stony Brook requires you to take other courses that are outside of your major. So for an ethics credit that I needed to get, I took a literature and medical ethics class. And let's say I didn't like sustainability, that might have convinced me to maybe want to become a doctor because that's probably my favorite course I've taken here. So there's a lot of flexibility, especially in the beginning, when you can decide with those electives whether or not you'd want to change based on your experience.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add is that from the kind of faculty and somewhat administrative side of things, that I've noticed that maybe somebody starts off in marine vertebrate, you know, biology, and they over time through their coursework realize, that not that physics or something like this or physics of the water columns, whatever it may be, is not their strong point, but just don't find themselves um, really, really super interested in it. That the sustainability studies division, particularly our BAs, be it sustainability studies or environmental design, policy, and planning, it's a decent amount of kind of trickle over where people start in the School of Marine Atmospheric Sciences and then for whatever reason go more towards the kind of societal, kind of social science and humanities side of environmental, and rather than the more physical and hard science side, mathematical.
Yes, we see that a lot. So as we kind of come to the conclusion of the hour, I'd really be interested to hear each of your advice for students that are going through the application process, applying to Stony Brook, applying to other colleges, senior year, if you can remember back to high school. What are some things that kind of they have to look forward to in college, and what kind of wisdom can you impart to them before we go?
Well, there's something I always like to think back to. I've changed majors and I've transferred universities, and it can be pretty frustrating to think about if I knew exactly like where I wanted to be and what I wanted to study like out of high school, I probably could have saved myself a lot of time and like frustration. But there's a process, and it takes time and trial and error, but I'm really happy where I am now. I took a lot of time to like reflect along the way and figure out if I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I'm really happy with where I'm at now. So generally speaking, it all works out, and your hard work will be worth it.
Yeah, and I guess for my advice, I'd say especially with like the actual picking what college you get, because I'm sure all of you are amazing students, and every college will be like screaming to get you. Picking Stony Brook was not an easy choice for me. When I first was making my decisions, I committed to a completely different school. And my parents actually, they were like, Stony Brook looks kind of interesting. Let's go drive there and look at it one more time. And I just had this gut feeling that I was like, hey, I think I could see myself going here for sure. And if you have that feeling about here, I think you should totally go. There's like no drawbacks to being here. And at least in the sustainability studies or in SOMAS, you will find friends, you'll find people that you'll probably be friends with for the rest of your life. At least I have that feeling. So just best of luck. I know you.
And I'm just glad that we were able to get Akshay and Sophia here, and I hope to get as many of you here that want to be here. And what I'll say is, if I can remember back to college, one, I didn't have so many opportunities is available that are available here, both in our division, in our school, and within this university. But I'll say this, we strive hard in our program to create a sense of connectedness, a sense of cohort. That's really good for retention. Studies will show that not only retention, but for academic success, feel like you're part of something and that what you're doing is actionable and useful and tangible. You can see the results. And the more I think you feel successful and feel part of a cohort of something, the more it leads to like a fun and a good and flowering social life that then feeds back into doing good, academically successful. And these things, it's a synergy that you just.
Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time. I know it's finals are upon us. The semester is concluding, so I know this is a really tough time for you to take this time out, but I'm so appreciative that we got to hear your stories and hear about really what is, I think, one of kind of the hidden gem in at Stony Brook. So I'm glad we were able to share that with everyone. Again, if anyone does have additional questions after you think about what you heard today, definitely email us at enroll@stonybrook.edu or give our office a call on weekdays. We're happy to chat with you about all different topics. So again, thank you, Adam, Sophia, and Akshay for your time. Good luck, everyone, with your college applications. You know, it'll be worth it when you go through this process. Best of luck to everyone, and have a good evening. Bye, everyone.